Hey guys, welcome back. It's Lucid, and we've got a new turn in Mountain Arena. The real question is, does Agartha attack? It appears the answer is no. I'm probably going to attack Yomi this turn. Oh, getting attacked by Yomi. I was like, damn, picking a fight with Yomi. Fortunately, the region around Niflheim is my worst land. The 4 provinces I have in that 3x3 box total to 2 gems and 50 gold income. Oh my god. So I can afford to lose ground there as long as I gain somewhere else. I've decided to give up defending the steel ovens from Agartha and march that army to Vanheim's capital. I think I can ruin their army, but probably not without ruining mine. And I need that army. I think that's a pretty good assessment too, because those magma kids are gonna mess his dudes up, but they're also gonna get fucking destroyed. I think I've extracted a deal from Agartha that they won't pursue me into Vanheim in exchange for my not defending the Steel Evans. Okay, that was a very smart deal from Agartha, because Agartha was negotiating with an army that he almost certainly was going to lose with. And he managed to negotiate and get something which he probably wouldn't have gotten. So I think this was a very smart deal by both sides. Score graphs were posted recently, and Vanheim's gold and gem income were surprisingly high, given its greatly reduced size. Further, killing Vanheim is basically the only thing I can do to reduce the number of nations fighting me, / how many armies I need to field in order to defend my lands. So I'm finally returning to trying to kill him. After the rush to Enchantment 6 before the big Lanka showdown forced me to hold all mages still. So my military has 2 goals for the next few turns: marching on Vanheim's capital and trying to push Tianqi off the Throne of Fire before they can fully reinforce that army. Oh god, that's going to be hard. If only he knew the number of sacreds per turn showing up in that army. It's a lot. Okay, so we're going to do this one. I don't want to get any... I don't want to ruin anything. Niflheim attacking Agartha. Lanka attacking mitclan. So he's just pinging this. And this is basically just chaff here. A High Priest of the Sun into Turkey and some slaves and a huge PD dump. I don't think I really covered how big that PD dump was. But yeah, it was pretty big. mitclan moving on top of Vanheim's fort. That was where I was expecting to maybe see a battle. But we don't see it. And then here, also force hosted this turn. mitclan said to go ahead and force host, but then maybe they're upset now that they did because it's a Hydra. And the other partner was like, don't force host after the turn rolled. Yeah. Kappa coming in. Okay. Tirnanog valiantly fighting back against the Frost Giants. Okay. And does Yomi attack this turn? He does. This is kind of interesting, kid. It's not... I don't think this could survive Aussies. I mean, maybe it could. I don't think it can. You can't repel them, which is what this build's kind of built around a bit. You can't repel Aussies because they have really good morale. When I say can't, like, you technically can, but in practice, it's usually never going to happen. And the protection's great, but I think they're going to be... We'll have to see how much damage Aussies deal. Either way, I don't think they can survive Aussies. Okay, so let's take a look at this negotiation. So Agartha didn't move out already. I think they were probably a little... I think what happened, this is my guess, is they couldn't actually get close enough to an agreement that they're going to sign a non-aggression pact. So I think mitclan is moving out here in good faith, and Agartha's probably a little questioning whether mitclan's really going to do it. Or, you know, because Mitclan may choose to like take a fight while Agartha's unprepared or something. So we'll see. I mean, Agartha can also attack here. Get in these pawn systems. That's going to be really annoying for Mitclan. I wonder how this is going to play out, and I am not sure at all. Dwarven Smith. So these guys have come back. I thought they were going to attack through the barbs, which is, by the way, a very nice province. But they've come over here. I guess they're just going to come over and fight Vanheim in their capital. I don't know what Vanheim's going to do. Maybe he gets... I don't think they have Alt 5. But like Barkskin painted on, like Wooden Warriors painted on Van Heer, Air Elementals. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to do much, but... you know, that remains to be seen. And the other question is, will they ride out and fight here? There was a big army, I think, inside this fort. And the fort isn't cracked yet either, despite a reasonably large force being on top of it. There's not a lot of flyers here, and the Jaguar Warriors have a little bit extra strength for, you know, 1.2 siege strength. But there's no, like, Aussies, which are really going to help take the fort walls down. And Agartha, of course, will one turn pop this. Let's take a look at over here. So Yomi attacks and goes ahead and gets this tar pits one turn early. He can probably come up here. I guess the way Mitclan's thinking about this now is this army, which actually came down from Niflheim to attack into Vanheim. He's now saying, okay, yeah, we're divorcing ourselves from this whole region of the map. And instead... Wait, is this the 3x3 he was talking about? God, these are shit lands. Holy shit. Look at them. None of them are above 30 income. 4 plus 9... 13, 36, 50, 70, 100, 110, 110, then this is, God, when this is like the good province, 110, 140. 140 gold for all of these provinces. That is ridiculous. And there's no way to get these scales out for Mitclan. Like, these scales are here to stay, because his scales are just as bad. Maybe they're not as bad, but they're pretty fucking bad. I mean, this is no scales. I mean, on the plus side, he can go ahead and like pump his Dominion out in here in theory and not care because it's just as bad. I think it's actually better because... Okay, actually, I'm not sure. It's probably not better. Anyhow. I mean, some of this is from unrest, though. So, like, some of these provinces will have a bit more income if they get, you know... put to the torch and sword a bit where the rebels are put out. But I think the way he's thinking about this is because he's connected north to south, like he owns this whole middle strip, is that basically he's going to give this up to Yomi, and he's going to focus on fighting everybody else, and particularly on taking Vanheim. And he's rationalizing that, saying it's going to be, or justifying it, I'm not saying it's the wrong decision, but saying it's the only way to get somebody off of his back. He gets this. I mean, the other thing is if Yomi sets up camp in here, he will have the same number of capitals as Mitclan. They'll both have 3. So that potentially opens up Yomi to being backstabbed. Takes a little heat off him. Though Mitclan can almost certainly kick Yomi out of this corridor if left to his own devices. Okay. So let's think through this. Agartha moves here and takes this, but then let's say he pieces out. That doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Because Agartha's a one-cap nation, they have to make plays, and it's going to take them forever to move back across here. And then what are they going to do? Stab Lanka? I think Agartha gets this, is going to give nebulous agreements, and then if anything bad happens to mitclan, or anything at all, he's going to, like, mobilize. One thing we'll be able to see is what this army does. If this army marches here, like it's going to reinforce, then we'll pretty much know that Agartha is committed to maybe robbing Vanheim from mitclan. But we'll have to see. Okay, we don't know how the Vanheim mitclan thing's going to play out. For Tianchi, let's take a look at this, because this is the other big theater of war. Fuck, dudes. Y'all are going to get wrecked. Eagle Warriors are going to get murdered here. God, look at these Masters of Heavenly Fires showing up. He's probably summoning inside here as well. Assuming he fixes his formation and switches to the Cheddar formation, he should just annihilate these dudes. That's, of course, we don't know exactly what magic's going to be cast, but we're not expecting Solar Eclipse anymore. Oh. Smoke and Mirror, the god's here, so maybe he will have Solar Eclipse. Oh, so he's going to muster everything over here. I think the thing that's really complicated to me is I'm sitting here thinking, like, I would try to negotiate my way out of this, because it's usually better for both sides. Like, unless one person's going to die, and I don't think they're going to actually permanently eliminate mitclan from the game. That's not my personal belief. So if that's not the case, then it's going to be a negotiation of sorts, right? Like, the people are going to agree this is good enough kind of terms or territory or what have you. I'm not sure what kind of deal mitclan could make. Like, he could let Yomi get set up here, and then he can fearmonger Yomi a bit and say there's another faction with 3 caps. I mean, Yomi doesn't scale as hard as mitclan. I don't think. So I don't know if that's going to work. Like, what would he have to give to Tianchi? Tianchi, if he gives a cap to Yomi, he could maybe fearmonger Tianchi into stabbing Yomi and keeping this. Tianchi's also not going to want to give this up. I think this might be a... like, on the strategic map, this might be a miscalculation by mitclan. This is one of the strongest players on the map, for sure. And while this would be great on mitclan, I don't think he actually has the power to forcibly take it back. And if he does, it's going to be at a truly grievous cost. And then that gets us to the question of, like, okay, well, you know, should we take it if we can't do it, or it will be at a grievous cost? I think the answer is probably not. What I think I'm leaning towards is I think you give Niflheim to Yomi. You use that to fearmonger Tianchi into attacking Yomi. The problem is if Tianchi does that, then that means mitclan can take Niflheim back. And this is super nice. You're going to have to pry this throne from Tianchi's cold, dying fingers. Because he wants these fire gems and he wants that +3 attack. Yomi going underwater. I don't... I think that's the weird thing about this map is... like, I'm not sure what concessions mitclan can make that will take pressure off of him. And I'm not sure... I think the coalition attack... like, if he got control of the whole column, I think he could probably fight off the coalition. But he doesn't have that yet. He doesn't have Vanheim's capital. He has a tenuous hold at best over Niflheim. God, is this the Necromancer event? It looks like it. Um, if that's the case, if he only has a tenuous control, like, what does he give up? I mean, he can give up Niflheim, we've established. I mean, he could give Vanheim to Agartha. Let's explore this idea. Let's look at each of these zones he could give up and to who, and what the consequence of that would be. And some of the reason I want to really... Part of the reason is because I don't have another turn to show you, and we're only 15 minutes into the episode. But the other thing is, this is one of the things I was most interested in seeing on this map, is how diplomacy would play out in coalition wars. So, let's say Agartha said, how about you give me Vanheim? Mitclan says, okay, I'm going to take this army and come over here and fight Yomi. I think he could kill Yomi and defend this border. Agartha would then become a two-cap nation, and he would have sealed off this part of his land. And this is enough. The thing is, Agartha needs to do something. I don't think getting the steel ovens is enough of a concession to him. Even though it was a very reasonable deal for Mitclan to make, and for Agartha to kind of accept, because this army could kill that army, I think. So, all that happens. Agartha moves in here. Mitclan comes over here and holds against Yomi. That means he now gets to keep Niflheim. So he's going to stay a three-cap nation, but this land is super impoverished with really fucked scales. And it's stuff that's been death scales for like 45 turns. So he could do that, and that would probably bring peace to this part of the world. Coming down, what kind of terms could he make Lanka? First of all, I'm not really sure. I think Lanka's going to chill and get an army back. And he's also massing stuff here. Lanka does not really look... Well, these guys are probably going south. We don't really know what Lanka's doing, but it doesn't really look... Wait, is this the Jade Amazon province? Okay, maybe he's marching these guys south as well. While keeping some presence here to defend from Agartha. So, anyway, he's defeated a Lankan army. There's no reason to give Lanka anything. There's no reason, and he's definitely not going to... Saramatia actually gives him a ton of income. So that's off the table. There's no world in which this happens. But Tianqi... What could he give Tianqi? He can't give Tianqi his capital, which means the only thing he could give Tianqi is Sarmatia. But if he gives him Sarmatia, then all he's going to have left, he's going to be a one-cap Mitclan with Niflheim. And maybe part of Vanheim. But if he gives this to Agartha, he wouldn't have Vanheim. So I think the problem is this. The problem is the only thing he can give to Tianqi to probably ultimately quell him, unless Tianqi's just content for the Throne of Fire. Like, if Tianqi's content to have a long-term peace where he gets the Throne of Fire, even this, like, any small thing he can give to Tianqi, like these two provinces that don't fundamentally threaten his hold on this region, like as long as he's not giving away the Sarmatian lands or his core lands over here. Anything he could give to Tianqi to buy peace would be worth it if Tianqi's okay with it. What that would mean for Tianqi is Tianqi's going to turn on Yomi. This is a reasonable play for Tianqi to consider because he will probably fuck Yomi up. This is just really hard stuff to tank. Like, quickened Demons of the Heavenly Rivers are going to probably have their way with Dione. I haven't tested this, but I'm guessing. Especially if they get strength buffs on them or what have you. Same Warriors with 5 elements are going to blender Dione as well. Maybe. They don't do as much damage. So they'll have a harder time getting through really high protection. But Yomi can also do some soul slays and air elementals and water elementals. And, water elementals have armor-piercing attacks. There's a lot that TNG can do to grind through Dione. So if TNG negotiates a long-term peace with Lanka, where they don't get Lanka can't afford to give them much, right? But they could give them these two. And certainly give them the throne. That would potentially buy off TNG to go over here and kill Yomi. And killing Yomi would actually be really nice for them, because that's going to mean they get the whole column. And TNG's in position too right now. So doing this would be a really big deal. It would take pressure off of Lanka over here with Yomi. Not Lanka, mitclan over here with Yomi. And this is an area where mitclan was going to lose ground. He's going to lose all this stuff, but it's not really worth that much. So, I think the more I think about it, the more I think this is a reasonable deal for them both to make. The problem you have as TNG is the things you will need to take from mitclan are going to be things which mitclan will refuse to give. So you're going to have to, more than any other player fighting mitclan, you're going to have to kind of kill him, right? You're going to have to exhaust all of his resources, and that's a pretty tall order. If he's able to do that, let's say he takes a big fight, let's say mitclan's determined to fight him, they take a big fight here, and TNG wins. He can possibly come over here and cap a mitclan. That would be a very big deal. Because now he would control this, and he probably will win a resulting 1v1 against against Yomi. And that would put him in a strong position to win the game. That's very interesting. So he could come over here. So TNG actually basically has two plays. They could peace out with mitclan. And if they peace out with mitclan, they could come over here and attack Yomi and have a very good shot at winning the game that way. They could fight mitclan. If they fight mitclan and win decisively, they could come over here and take mitclan's cap. And that's a good way to win the game. So TNG actually has two decent moves. What this comes down to is who would win if they fight. And I don't know what the answer to that is. We can see he has slingers, so he's going to have flaming arrows. The fire part isn't amazing versus Warriors of the Five Elements, but they do tend to get kind of plinked down. If we look at the research, let's take a look at research. Let's just do the major players here. I think these are the major players. Sorry, Vanheim, you're not really there. All right, Yomi is by far and away the slowest in research, but it's starting to creep up. Yeah, TNG's number one. That means they're going to have things like Fog Warriors first. mitclan, their research is suffering a good bit, but it's surprisingly good. I'm very surprised they're in number two, considering how many mages they're using. Lanka's number three. Agarth is number four. I mean, honestly, this depends on so much. Like what spells get cast, etc. I think TNG's going to win the fight. But it depends on how many mages. TNG lost a lot of mages because the Aussies jumped on them that fight a couple turns ago. So if TNG was able to reinforce a significant number of mages, I think they're still going to win if they have a good formation. mitclan, yeah, I don't know. Maybe mitclan can pull something out. They've been doing some pretty amazing stuff. I just don't really see it here. especially with Eagle Warriors. Eagle Warriors are not, I don't think, going to be amazing. I mean, the nice thing about them is they can jump in and join the Alpha Strike along with the Aussies. So that's nice. The bad thing about them is you just don't tend to get as much bang for your buck out of them as the Jaguars. But being able to join the Aussies is kind of a big deal. But like if TNG has Storm, like a Storm Staff, which I think he mentioned in a message he was working towards, this is going to go really, really sideways for mitclan, I think. Really, really sideways. Yeah, I mean, if TNG gets a Storm Staff, they might not want to make a deal with mitclan because they might think they can just in 5 turns be on top of his capital. Or 6 turns or whatever, because they storm this. I'm not exactly sure what tech they would all have and how that would all play out. We'd have to see in combat, but... yeah, actually, I mean, the more I'm looking at it, the more I'm thinking it's actually possible that TNG just is the one to drive a knife through the heart of mitclan. If mitclan loses a battle, he's spread so thin, and he doesn't really have anything to protect his cap. He has this army he could pull back. So he could summon reinforcements while moving this army back and use this to finish off Vanheim. So he could salvage it, but if that happens, then Agartha really has more leverage in this front because this army's going to have to get pulled. I mean, okay, let's look at it this way now. What would it take for mitclan to win the game here? Let's say he decisively wins against TNG. That, I think, would be enough to make TNG settle for going after Yomi, perhaps, as a backup plan. Because I think TNG is going to get the Storm Staff and is going to make a play at mitclan's capital. If he wins that, he's then going to have bought time where basically the only major conflicts now are going to be in this front, with Vanheim, Agartha, and Yomi. And I feel he can hold on to all of those, though he might lose part of Niflheim. And then TNG will come over here and fight Yomi. Yeah, I don't know. I think like the number of things that have to go right for mitclan to like win this now are like getting, like the odds are getting longer and longer. But anyway, let me know what you think of this situation in the comments. The things I'm interested in, put this down there. Let me know. What do you think? What kind of deals do you think mitclan could make to get out of this war? This coalition. Which of those deals do you think would be the best for him to make that are also very good for the person he's making the deal to make? Like, what do you think are the best win-wins out there for this? And let me know who you think's actually in the best position right now, because I think it's actually kind of complicated. Like, sure, mitclan's way up in provinces. On income, he's right there with TNG. On gem income, he's right there with TNG. Now, obviously, he has a huge slave economy, too. Research TNG's ahead. Let me know what you think. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care and see you next time.